All right, I want to welcome everybody back to Black Media Matters Studios. And I'm joined right now on the set by Seattle City Councilmember Tammy Morales. How are you?
I'm really well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you here. Excited to have you in the new space. And now you represent D2. And
Yep.
you could tell everybody the general area.
Sure. So District 2 starts down in Rainier Beach. It goes all the way up the Rainier Valley, includes Soto, Georgetown, Beacon Hill, and the Chinatown International District, and part of Little Saigon.
Yeah, so that's like the south side.
Yeah.
All the way up, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's good stuff. And how long have you been on the city council?
This is my second year.
Second year? It seems like 20, huh?
It does. I had no idea what I was getting into 2 months before COVID hit. So.
Right, all right. Well, I wanted to take a moment and talk to you about something real serious and something that's near and dear to our heart here at Converge, something we've been beating the drum literally for years. And that's the issue of gun violence and violence overall, and gun violence in our community, and especially gun violence in your district, District 2, as well as District 3. I saw last month that your office had put out a release, and the first thing that you talked about is that you wanted to address the fact that people are impacted. The second thing that you wanted to talk about was a short-term plan of like, okay, how do you address violence that's occurring? The third thing that you talked about was what investments need to occur on the upstream. Mm-hmm. Now, what I wanted to go ahead and get out of the way so then we could talk about these three things that you proposed is like, we've been saying for a long time, we really wanted council, the city, to get more active, to say something. It doesn't necessarily have to be, oh, this person did this, who's right, who's wrong, but to acknowledge the fact that, communities are impacted, families, communities, businesses are impacted. And one, I'm glad to hear that you put out this statement, but also maybe you can help people understand from your side, because we've been explaining from our side, maybe from your side, why at times the city has been quiet.
Sure. Well, thank you for the question. And I've heard you. I know that there is a lot of trauma people are experiencing. We know that, as you said, the South End in particular has been dealing with gun violence for generations. And I think, speaking for myself, I know I need to do better about reaching out to community, about addressing it when things like this happen. And I will say that very often it feels invasive to try to talk to a family who's experiencing so much trauma. So that, for myself, that's, I know, a big part of the reason why it's hard. But as you said last month, when we just have had so much escalation, a high uptick in gun violence just this year, it's really important to acknowledge that it's happening and really acknowledge the impact that it's having on our community and on individual families.
Right, and and I'll say this, is that there's one thing we talked about, me and Trey Holiday the other day, is that through people's different lived journey and experience, how they're dealing with people in crisis and loss is different. And there's some people that got on the council who this is all brand new to them. And there's other people who are elected who, unfortunately, they've been dealing with this, their whole life or been a part of it. And the one advice that I would say is that when people are going through it or in crisis, then however people are in their best self, it's always going to be accepted.
Sure. You
know what I'm saying? And I think that we probably all mess ourselves up when we overthink it. You know what I'm saying? And, clearly I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but a lot of the people I come in contact with, just acknowledgement is cool.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And I think it is important to acknowledge the loss and the humanity of the people who have lost their lives, of their families that have been traumatized. What I can commit is to doing better, to reach out to folks, and as you said, just to acknowledge that there's a lot people are going through.
Right. Now, the statement that you set out, it was addressing a specific incident or a series of incidents around Mount Baker and near the Sound Transit Station, that area, MLK and McClellan. Maybe you could update us on that.
Sure. So we just had a meeting Wednesday night. I am meeting with community members there every 2 weeks now, and we've been doing a lot of that kind of community level organizing in different neighborhoods. We're also doing that in Rainier Beach around the Safeway parking lot. But in Mount Baker, the community has basically come together to organize to form a community action plan. We've pulled in different departments to come and listen every 2 weeks and get updated on what's going to happen. So we are working with Sound Transit to try to activate the platform. You know, it's an elevated platform there, so allow people to have a coffee stand or do something to activate that space. Worked on better lighting. We've worked on, the city has worked on clearing some of the brush that was in the surrounding area. And also working on the Kings Hall parking lot, which is behind the facility. So there's a lot of kind of, you know, lighting and shrubbery issues that are being addressed. In terms of the actual gun violence there, that's something that we're going to have to keep pushing on. You know, the police department has responded. They're doing investigations to try to figure out who's involved. There's not a lot that they can share with us until those are complete. But I would say that the community is organizing really actively and coming together to support one another. There's a preschool there, and so the parents are very concerned about the safety of their kids. And everybody is working together to make sure that there is that they're holding all of us accountable and that we are actively working with them to try to find some solutions.
Right. Is the police part of the conversation as well?
Yeah, so they are part of, they come every 2 weeks and update us as they can. When we met on Wednesday, Franklin High School had just been shut down because of the threats that are happening. And so they updated us about that as well. And we had some educators and some students from Franklin High School on the call too. So we're really trying to make sure that everybody who's impacted by the things that are happening are on those calls so that they can share from their perspective what needs to happen.
Right. I know we're short on time here, but it looks like we're right on time. Is that last night, the parents, some of the concerned parents at Garfield High School, they had a meeting last night, and the principal, Dr. Hart, there talked about, in regards to safety, they talked about, one, in the immediate term, they wanted more parents and community members to basically activate the space after school. They want to come up there, whether you mentor, whether you use the play field, whether you're hanging out, whether you're, you know, talking to young people, that's activating the space. But one thing that we kept hearing from the PT, from the PTSA, and from Principal Hart, and from some of the people on the call, was resources, especially resources around for these young people. They talked about mental health resources, upstream resources, everything else. And a lot of stuff, when you talk about money coming out of the city, it sits with the council. Now we're hearing people in schools saying that, hey, resources are there. I know that, you know, public schools has their own thing going on, but what are some of the things that maybe the city could be looking at? Because this is a real cry for help. I mean, clearly there's the right now, the violence interruption, but people have been talking about upstream solutions. And to be honest with you, I went to Garfield, and when I was in high school there, my friends were murdered. And it very much is generational. What can we be doing right now, because you listed upstream investment as one of your priorities? What can we be doing?
So a lot of the work that my office does focuses on young people. So the last 2 budget cycles, for example, we have put about $1 million into restorative justice programs for our South End high schools. And that is not just to teach the kids about peacemaking circles and conflict resolution, but it's also to try to change the culture of the schools themselves so that there is not, so it's working with educators and administrators to help them understand the need to move away from punitive discipline, for example. We've also put close to $1 million into mentorship and leadership programs aimed at Black girls and Black trans youth to provide them the opportunity to be meeting with people, you know, adults who care about their success. And then another thing that we did 2 years ago is invested $1 million to partner with the Port of Seattle. They have a youth apprenticeship program that is run in the summertime. And so we doubled their investment so that we could really try to start connecting young people to job opportunities and things to do, not just after school, but really start their skill building and guide them toward a path. That program is not quite up to speed yet. I'm hoping, we have to sign a memorandum of agreement with the port, between the city and the port, and I'm hoping that the mayor is able to sign that before she leaves, because we did put that in the 2020 budget, in the 2021 budget in 2020. So, those are the kind of steps that my office is taking to try to really move dollars into community to support young people and to support their success.
Right. And do you feel that this is a urgent enough matter? I know you talked about you in D2, and I know you can't speak for all of your colleagues there on the council, but you might have a temperature of it. I think that when it comes to our youth, maybe the council is more apt to want to work together to find some kind of solutions. Young people might be something people can agree on over there.
Yeah, totally. I think, so those are some of the things coming out of my office. I also sit on the Board of Health, and so there's a county-wide effort to really think about gun violence from a public health perspective and start investing in those kind of upstream solutions. As a city council, we've also really started to talk about, we have the Community Safety Initiative, which invests in 3 different hubs in the city, the Central District, South End, and West Seattle, pulling together Urban Family, Boys and Girls Club, and community passageways. And that is specifically to invest in the gun violence prevention and in the crisis response. So kind of building the capacity of the organizations that exist to scale up and to be able to respond better. I've had lots of conversations with the people who run these programs. I've had lots of conversations with the young people themselves who are in safe houses and are trying to understand how they can come back, because when they're in the safe house, very often they've left town, and they're trying to figure out, is there a safe house in Seattle where we can come back and know that we will be safe? So these are the kinds of things that we're working on, and I think there would be commitment from the council to continue this sort of support. Right.
I know that between the city and council, the city and the county really come together there at public health, zero youth detention, and you mentioned other people, community passageways and stuff like that. Well, like I said, I'm known for keeping people on time. This means that next time, though, we're going to have to book for 30 minutes, 45
Fair
minutes,
enough.
so we can chop it up, because we're going into a new year. So maybe we'll hook up in a new year, and you can tell all your constituents in the city you're planning a strategy for 2022 in District 2 in the city of Seattle. Councilmember Tammy Morales, thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been my pleasure.
All right. Until next time, and we'll give him the peace sign, council member. Peace.